Elias Thorne was a man of zeros and ones, of perfect equilibrium. He found his solace not in people, but in the crystalline, deterministic purity of code. His workspace, tucked away in the least trafficked corner of Aether Dynamics' sleek glass and steel headquarters, was his sanctuary. Aether was a global powerhouse in high-frequency financial modeling and cybersecurity consulting. And while the company's executives lived in the realm of perception and politics, Elias lived in the essential truth of its digital backbone. For 7 years, Elias had been the invisible engine room of Aether's success. He was the quiet, intense mind whose algorithms ran the fraud detection systems that protected billions in client assets. He didn't speak the smooth language of sales. He spoke the language of system integrity, seeing the world not as a complex marketplace, but as a vast, flawed code waiting to be optimized. His only ambition was the creation of the perfect, self-correcting system. His boss, Victor Sterling, was the shimmering opposite. Victor was the face of the security division. Tall, perpetually tanned, with an easy laugh and the political acumen of a seasoned senator. Victor commanded a room, selling abstract concepts like trust and risk mitigation for enormous sums. Victor understood the art of the image. Elias understood the reality of the system. They were a necessary, functional duality, or so Elias believed. Elias was on the cusp of his career-defining achievement, Project Chimera. Chimera was not just an upgrade, it was a revolution. It was an advanced, self-learning financial security platform that moved beyond traditional transaction monitoring. It incorporated proprietary behavioral data models, the sociological and psychological tells of financial criminals, to anticipate and block large-scale fraud days, even weeks, before the first actual wire transfer was initiated. It was a silent, omnipresent guardian, protecting Aether's clients from threats they didn't even know existed. Elias had poured 2 years, 40,000 lines of immaculate code, and every ounce of his intellectual capacity into its creation. The complexity was staggering, the elegance pure. He trusted Victor implicitly, giving him constant, verbose updates, viewing Victor as the necessary translator who could transform his digital genius into executive action. "This changes everything, Elias," Victor had declared after reviewing the final beta report, his grip firm and proprietary. "This algorithm is the key to my partner track and yours. We will present it to the board next month. I'll make sure you get the recognition you deserve. This will be your legacy, Elias, our legacy." Elias had felt a rare swell of pride. He didn't crave the spotlight, but he craved the validation of his architecture. He saw his work finally stepping out of the shadows and being acknowledged for its fundamental truth. He finalized the source code and documentation, ready to present his perfect system to the world. The fissure and the frame, the collapse, The performance of trust. The presentation to the Aether board was a spectacular, flawlessly choreographed triumph. Victor Sterling, radiating confidence and dressed in a suit that cost more than Elias's monthly rent, commanded the vast, high-tech boardroom. Elias sat near the back, the silent observer, clutching a cold bottle of water, ready to answer any deep, technical questions. Victor's performance was masterful. He wove a powerful narrative about Aether's commitment to predictive integrity modeling, using Elias's precise language and meticulously prepared data visualization slides. He spoke about Chimera's potential to eliminate systemic risk and secure billions in the global economy. The board members, composed mostly of former politicians and financial leaders, were enthralled by the vision Victor spoke for 45 minutes, effortlessly navigating the Q&A session. But in every answer, in every sweeping gesture, Victor executed a single professional assassination. He never once uttered Elias Thorne's name. He repeatedly referred to the platform as my team's architecture, the insights as the fruits of my long-term strategic vision, and the genius behind the algorithms as simply Aether's proprietary modeling. The omission was not accidental. It was surgical, designed to erase the source of the innovation. When the applause erupted, the CEO, Martha Vance, a woman known for her unforgiving clarity, approached Victor, her focus absolute. Victor, this is groundbreaking work. I want a patent filed immediately. Put your name on this. We need to lock down this IP under the strongest possible executive control. Victor, catching Elias's eye for a fraction of a second, offered a brief, reassuring nod. The kind of gesture a politician gives to a foot soldier. The message was clear. Trust me, I'm handling the politics. The act of liquidation. The devastating truth arrived 3 days later. Elias had spent the interim meticulously compiling the complete technical specifications and the core, unique source code of Chimera, the entire intellectual property, and delivered it to Victor's secure corporate drive for the final legal filing. The next morning, the official Aether Dynamics press release hit the wire. Aether Dynamics secures patent for revolutionary financial security platform, Chimera, developed and championed by Director Victor Sterling. A new era of risk management begins. Elias stared at the headline until the corporate typeface blurred into an angry smear. The patent filing credited Victor Sterling as the sole inventor, the primary innovator, and the legal owner of the IP Elias Thorne. The man who had lived and breathed the code was professionally extinguished. The betrayal was compounded by Victor's escalating financial desperation. Elias later learned that Victor, driven by unchecked ambition and a mounting personal debt fueled by a divorce settlement and a failed private investment, didn't just need a promotion. He needed a massive, undeniable asset he could leverage. He hadn't just stolen the code. He had stolen Elias's entire future to liquidate his own overwhelming debt. Elias stormed into Victor's office. "My name isn't on the patent. This is my code. This is not how we agreed." Victor, leaning back in his Italian leather chair, radiating cold, expensive composure, offered no remorse. "Control your emotions, Elias." The filing department required one signatory of executive rank. I am the director. The board needs a face and a guarantee. You, my friend, are absolutely brilliant, but you are not a presence. You are invisible outside the console. This is how the real world works. The value of the IP is protected by my political weight. "This is theft," Elias repeated, the word tasting like a poison. Victor's cold smile was the final blow. "No, Elias, this is real estate. I just claimed the valuable intellectual territory. Now, go back to your desk, finalize the Chimera deployment package, and stop being so melodramatic. You will receive an excellent severance package when I transfer you to the new Research Fellow role, a meaningless title designed to keep you quiet." Elias realized that his silence was not Victor's gift to him. It was Victor's last, arrogant insurance policy, the frame job. Victor, however, realized that Elias, once quiet, was now a volatile element. He needed to eliminate the threat of future legal claims or public exposure. He needed to make Elias a disgraced, unreliable witness. The next day, a minor yet expertly targeted data anomaly hit the Aether network, a highly sensitive client database, one crucial to the upcoming deployment of Chimera, was corrupted, wiping 5 hours of transactional history. The breach was professionally clumsy, a clear sign of an amateur attempting sabotage, but it was placed with surgical, internal precision. Elias was pulled into a crisis meeting within the hour. The forensics team, which was under Victor's direct command, presented their findings with swift, condemning clarity. The malicious script, the originating IP address, the terminal log sequence, everything pointed directly to Elias's workstation, executed 2 days after the board meeting. "We have irrefutable evidence, Mr. Thorne," the CEO, Martha Vance, stated, her disappointment freezing the air. "The logs indicate you tried to sabotage Chimera out of professional spite and to target our primary client data. It's a betrayal of trust." Elias, the man who knew the network better than anyone, was trapped. "It's a plant. The logs are fabricated. Victor, tell them this is impossible." Victor Sterling looked at him with an expression of profound, heartbroken sadness. The performance of a lifetime. "I'm shattered, Elias. I defended you, but the evidence is absolute. I can't protect you from this act of malice." Elias was escorted out of Aether Dynamics by 2 black-suited security guards. He was officially terminated for gross misconduct and attempted sabotage. He was not only robbed of his creation, but blacklisted across the entire financial tech sector, his reputation smeared with the irreversible stain of professional treachery. His 7 years of impeccable integrity were wiped clean by a 5-minute lie. He walked out into the harsh city light, carrying nothing but a plastic bag of his small belongings, and the cold, terrifying certainty that he was utterly ruined. The crucible of exile, the reforging, the despair and the logic. The first 6 months of exile were a descent into a gray, airless void. Elias moved into a forgotten, rented apartment, far from the corporate glow of downtown, communicating only with his landlord. His name was toxic, every door slammed shut. His brilliant mind, deprived of the complex, structured challenge of code, turned inward, fueling a devastating despair. The psychological toll of being an invisible man framed for an invisible crime was nearly unbearable. He wasn't angry. Anger was messy and inefficient. He was wounded by the failure of logic. How could such flawless architecture, his career, his code, his integrity, be brought down by such cheap, clumsy deceit? The turning point came one night as he stared at the faint glow of his old monitor, still running diagnostic scans on the blacklisting reports. He realized his initial mistake. He had treated Victor's betrayal as an emotional crime rather than a systemic flaw. Victor was not just a greedy boss. He was a corrupt variable introduced into a high-integrity system, Aether Dynamics. The only way to fix the system was not through emotional defense, but through system correction. Victor stole my security system, Elias realized, a cold, sharp certainty settling in his core. He didn't steal it to store it. He stole it to use it. He is not just hiding the truth. He is using Chimera's predictive power to execute massive securities fraud. He stole my security system and turned it into a weapon for systemic crime. Elias converted his rage into cold, precise logic. His mission shifted from revenge to architectural integrity. He would prove the truth using the very tools Victor thought he controlled. The ally, Dr. Anya Sharma. Elias knew he couldn't re-enter the Aether network without an internal pivot point. He needed an ally who possessed both high security clearance and unshakable professional ethics. He needed Dr. Anya Sharma. Anya was a senior data analyst whom Elias had mentored. She was brilliant, deeply analytical, and possessed a profound intellectual disdain for Victor Sterling's superficiality. They met at a sterile public library, communicating only via encrypted, time-sensitive chat sessions. Elias, looking pale and intense, laid out his proof: the suspicious timing of the patent, the obvious amateur flaws in the sabotage script Victor used to frame him, and the chilling pattern of Victor's recent private, highly profitable short trades that perfectly correlated with Chimera's predictive models. Anya studied the data, her face moving from skepticism to a grim horror. He's been forcing us to run custom executive overview reports that were clearly targeted at micro-predictive market behavior, she whispered. We thought he was just obsessive. If this is true, he's using our platform to commit insider trading on a catastrophic scale. He's exposing Aether to billions in legal liability. Anya agreed to help. Her role was simple and terrifying: She would provide Elias with a narrow, high-clearance digital access window to Aether's internal network, bypassing the hardened biometric and algorithmic safeguards Victor had installed. "I am not doing this for you, Elias," Anya clarified, her eyes unwavering. "I am doing this for the integrity of the data and the clients Victor is robbing. He is the cancer. We are the cure." The birth of Cerberus. Elias went to work. He spent the next 4 months living entirely within the digital realm, designing the ultimate digital canary trap, a self-replicating, dormant module he codenamed Cerberus. Cerberus was a masterpiece of forensic engineering, designed to be injected deep into Chimera's source code. It would lie invisible, inert, until Victor, and only Victor, using his administrative credentials to commit a massive fraud, accessed a specific, highly protected data set. Elias built multiple layers of irrefutable proof into the module. 1. Authentication log. It would record Victor's Level 7 administrative credentials and every keystroke leading up to and during the fraudulent transaction. 2. Blockchain timestamping. It would use an external, irreversible blockchain timestamp to verify the exact moment of manipulation, proving the crime was recent, intentional, and executed by the current IP holder. This made the evidence unforgeable in any court of law. 3. Self-report protocol, the dossier. It would automatically compile all evidence, logs, credentials, timelines, and the original stolen source code proof into a single, multi-encrypted digital dossier of evidence, ready for transmission to external regulatory bodies. "I need exactly 6 minutes of deep network access, Anya," Elias told her on a secured line. 6 minutes. "I will take the rest of the responsibility. If you're caught, there's no protecting you." Anya simply replied, "The system is ready. The window opens at 2 a.m. I trust your architecture." The Watchman protocol, the construction, the stealth injection. The night of the injection was a study in controlled terror. Elias sat in his dark apartment, surrounded by 7 monitors running parallel diagnostics. At 2 a.m., the lights on his network console flickered. Anya had opened the window. Elias navigated the hostile Aether network with the speed and efficiency of a ghost. The firewall, which he himself had built, parted before him. He moved past biometric scans, through logic gates, and into the core directory where Chimera's source code resided. He initiated the Cerberus module. It took 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Elias watched, his breath held tight in his chest, as the code injected itself, self-replicated, and integrated into the primary fraud detection kernel. It was now a part of Chimera, dormant but listening, waiting for the first sign of executive malpractice. The digital canary was singing softly in the deepest layers of Victor Sterling's control. Elias logged out, erased his local activity logs, and sent a single, binary signal back to Anya. 1010. All clear. He spent the next 2 months in an agonizing holding pattern, monitoring the quiet activity logs of Cerberus. He knew Victor was too arrogant and too deeply leveraged in his mounting debts to stop. Victor was planning his last, largest score, a move so big it would solidify his position as a financial genius and erase his debts forever. Victor's fatal arrogance. The trap sprung on a humid, ordinary Monday morning in October. Victor Sterling initiated a massive insider trading sequence related to Titan Global, a major Aether client set to announce a catastrophic quarterly loss due to a hidden regulatory fine. This was Victor's masterstroke. He intended to short sell Titan stock right before the bad news hit, netting him upwards of $50 million. Victor accessed Chimera using his administrative credentials. He bypassed the standard security features and began manipulating the predictive variables to artificially suppress Aether's internal reporting on the Titan global risk, a direct abuse of Elias's design intended to blind the firm. As Victor manipulated the final variables in the Chimera core, the very logic gates Elias had designed to prevent this, Cerberus activated. Elias watched the execution in real time on his private server. He saw the logs fill with Victor's authenticated credentials, the specific timestamps, and the exact keystrokes that confirmed the fraudulent data injection and the securities fraud execution. The evidence was overwhelming, time-stamped, and legally airtight. The dossier of evidence was instantly compiled. Exhibit A, the original time-stamped source code of Chimera, legally proving Elias's sole authorship. Exhibit B, the Aether press release and patent filing, proving Victor's IP theft and fraudulent claim of invention. Exhibit C, the detailed log of Victor's access during the Titan global manipulation, proving securities fraud and criminal abuse of fiduciary trust. Exhibit D, forensic metadata proving the original frame job against Elias was planted remotely via Victor's secondary corporate proxy linked to his personal trading account, the Triple Threat Protocol. The revenge was now moving into the execution phase, entirely out of Elias's hands. It could not be a quiet termination. It had to be a systemic correction involving all major regulatory bodies. Elias initiated the Triple Threat Protocol. The exposure had to be simultaneous, overwhelming, and public. 1. Target 1. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. They received the proof of the securities fraud against Titan Global and the need for immediate asset freezing. 2. Target 2. The FBI Cyber Division. They received the proof of wire fraud and data manipulation related to the illegal use of corporate systems for profit. 3. Target 3. The Aether Dynamics Board of Directors. They received the proof of IP theft, the frame job, and the systemic vulnerability that their Golden Boy director was using their core product against them. Elias used 3 separate anonymized digital drop services, all traceable back to the Cerberus module, but impossible to trace back to his physical location, to deliver the dossier. He included a single unsigned cover letter for each target, tailored to their regulatory authority. The final crucial click was send. The irreversible consequence, the execution, the fallout. The institutional chaos was immediate and absolute. Within 90 minutes, the SEC issued an emergency freezing order on all trades related to Victor Sterling and the Titan Global short trade. Simultaneously, the FBI announced an active investigation into executive-level data manipulation at Aether Dynamics. The news hit the markets like a digital tsunami. Ether stock plummeted as the public realized their security firm was riddled with executive corruption. The board, now in full panic, sealed off Victor Sterling's entire division. Victor Sterling's downfall was humiliatingly public. He was apprehended by federal agents not in a private jet lounge, but at his desk, desperately trying to delete logs that no longer mattered. The image, captured by a helicopter news camera, showed Victor's trademark confidence completely fractured, his face a mask of shattered arrogance and absolute terror. The powerful director, the embodiment of trust, was exposed as a common criminal. The subsequent legal inquest confirmed the full catastrophic picture. The evidence presented by the Watchman protocol was so meticulously detailed, so forensically robust, that Victor had no legal defense. The judge immediately ruled that the Chimera patent belonged exclusively to Elias Thorne, and Victor was stripped of his assets, his freedom, and his reputation, facing decades in federal prison. The redemption and legacy. Elias, still anonymous, watched the final report confirming Victor's indictment. He felt no hatred, only the quiet satisfaction of a job professionally executed. The fire of revenge had gone out, replaced by the profound, steady power of control. A week later, Elias received a formal, heavily encrypted communication from Martha Vance, the CEO of Aether Dynamics. Vance, Mr. Thorne, the external audit is complete. Your integrity is fully restored. The original sabotage logs were confirmed as fraudulent, planted from Victor Sterling's proxy. Your IP has been legally restored. The board is offering you the title of Chief Technology Officer and a 30% equity stake to return and repair the damage Victor has done to Chimera. The system is failing without the true architect's oversight. Elias paused, looking at the tempting, massive offer. The power was intoxicating. But Aether Dynamics was a compromised system, and he was a man of integrity. He typed his final reply, his hand steady on the keyboard. Thank you for confirming the correction of the system flaw. The IP remains mine. I am not returning. A system that allowed this level of deception is structurally unsound. I have a new project. Elias used the recovered Chimera patent and the initial capital generated by its legal validation to found his own firm, Integrity Labs. It was a company built not on politics or false image, but on the bedrock truth of data. His first and most crucial hire was Dr. Anya Sharma, who became his chief architect. Elias Thorne finally stepped back into the sunlight, not as the ghost developer, but as the CEO of a revolutionary security firm. His story became a silent legend in the industry, the story of the underdog who fought back, not with emotion, but with the cold, unyielding power of the code. When people asked him how he managed to execute the perfect payback against a man who had everything, Elias would look them in the eye, his gaze intense and logical, and give his final, definitive answer. Victor Sterling understood human politics, but he failed to understand architectural integrity. He forgot the fundamental law of my world. Every action leaves a forensic trace. Every system has a logging function, and the most devastating weapon is the truth of the data you tried to hide. He stole my algorithm of security. I used the algorithm of consequence to dismantle his entire life. Justice, properly coded, is inevitable. Moral lesson of the story. The true power in the corporate world, or in any system, is not found in superficial charisma or political maneuvering, but in irreducible integrity and technical mastery. The moral lesson of Elias Thorne's story is: do not mistake integrity for weakness, and never underestimate the power of the expert you betray. Victor Sterling's fatal flaw was his belief that he could monetize competence without possessing it, and that he could rely on image to cover for fraud. Elias, the quiet expert, proved that while deception is fast, it is also fragile. Integrity, however, is structurally sound. Revenge is not a burst of emotion. It is an act of meticulous, strategic design. By converting his pain into a calculated protocol, Cerberus, and using the very tools of his expertise, data, code, and forensic logging, Elias ensured that the consequence was not merely painful, but inevitable and irreversible. He didn't just expose a liar, he corrected a systemic flaw, proving that the foundation of true success must be built on the unyielding principles of truth and competence, not on borrowed authority and lies.